So you've been hacked. This is what you if you've been hacked, that you might see something like that. I decided not to put the Grim Reaper or the skull and crossbones up, but that's what you see. They just kind of scare me a little bit. So I thought we'd look at these other, that's a real image that one of the hackers uses right there. So let's go to stage one. You have been hacked, so you have to recognize and mobilize. Stage one. Most important. So you know what's happened, you've pulled your team together, but this is to think through some of the different people who need to be there. Okay, who's in the team? Where are we? If you're in one building, let's say something's happening in that building and you need to be somewhere else, but in a hacking situation, more likely than not, everybody's going to stay put. So you're going to recognize and you're going to mobilize. So you want to contain, you want to restrict what's happening. So how do you do that? Anybody ever have to restrict an issue? Keep it contained? Any ideas about some of the things you do? You actually communicate, right? That's the funny thing. You communicate. So the first thing you do is you make sure people know what is happening and what you're doing to fix it. And you don't put out a statement necessarily to the media when your website's been hacked. But you only, it's the critical audiences at this point that make the biggest difference, because you want to make sure that they're the ones who know. And oftentimes, really, it is the people who are answering your phones and your bank tellers. So they are some of the most important people, because they are the ones that have to communicate with the customers. And then the other place where we tend to want to ignore, but I know most of you don't, is social media. And not just your profiles, but your community profile. So I live in Doylestown. We have the Doylestown group. We have the Doylestown Uncensored group. We have the Doylestown Business Leaders group. There's about 6 other ones, and I can tell you I monitor all of them for our local clients. We monitor them, but I'm always keeping an eye on them as well. So if whatever your community is, if you're in Abington, if you're in Happer, wherever you are, make sure that your teams are monitoring those sites. Upper Bucks, Lower Bucks, Montgomery County, Chester County. There are Facebook groups. If you've never heard of them, ask the younger people who work with you, because they will know what they are. Okay, there's another one. I think it's called Doylestown Compliments and Complaints or something.
Bucks County Complaints and Compliments.
Bucks County Complaints and Compliments.
It's never a compliment.
No, it's never a compliment. And it's sometimes it's just fascinating what people will complain about, as I'm sure you all know. But again, a hacking like this, it'll be viral before you know it, so you want to be prepared to keep it contained. So a standard holding statement that we see all the time from Twitter, for example, is Twitter is currently down for maintenance, right? They're down a lot for maintenance. And then it says, we expect to be back up in a couple of hours. Thanks for your patience. It's pretty simple, right? So sometimes less is more. Less is always more when you have to put out a statement. So you want to remove the threat. Now, how many of you are in IT? Okay, so you could probably teach this portion of what you need to do. I am not in IT, but you really need to remove the issue. Get the website down, as you all know. Put something temporary up, and have it ready to be put up before something happens. Always have something ready to be put up. The files, know where they are, know how to get them up, have all your DNS information. All of that needs to be readily available in your crisis response plan. Provide all the necessary tools to the experts to eradicate the issue. I cannot tell you how often people don't have the passwords they need because there's 5 layers of security. If it's in the crisis response plan and you've mobilized the team, then they have what they need to do their jobs. And oftentimes there are many different passwords that they need because you have a lot of third parties that work with you, and they might need to re-plug them into your website. So they might need their contact information. So if your online banking is done with a third-party vendor, you want to make sure that the contact information is in your crisis plan. These are some of the smaller details that we tend to forget because we think about what are the assets that we own, not always what are the assets that we need to think about. So we have to get that granular in a crisis plan. Again, you're communicating the issue, what's happening. Communicate, communicate, communicate. IT at this point should know who they have to communicate to and how often, because that's part of the process, so that if the spokesperson has to then communicate to the customer service reps and the frontline people, it's going out. Do you all have instant messaging internally? Anybody? So there you go. Without having that, you need to be sending emails. Know what the main tool of communicating is with your employees, or if it's text. So I'm sure everybody has a little bit of a different system. And then you're constantly monitoring and evaluating. So here's that other holding statement. So this is around stage 3, and this is just an example that I wanted to give you some examples, so if you want the materials, you have them. So as you're building or updating your crisis response plans, you have some statements to put in them, because you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's very simple. We're aware of the situation identified on our website. Our IT and cybersecurity teams are looking into this matter, and out of an abundance of caution, we have temporarily taken the site offline. You're basically telling your audience, we're being cautious because we care about you. That's the connotation, and that's important, because why would I bank with the bank we're with? Is because we trust you, right? So that's something to remember, and we will share more information when it becomes available. Don't just say it and not do it. It's another mistake a lot of companies make. They say they're going to follow up, but they don't. So make sure that that follow-up is in there. So let's say the outage is going longer than you expect. So one communique may not be enough. You may have to communicate again to your audience and update the communication to tell them how long the website will be down. Refer to the technical difficulties, and at this point you're probably going to need to have contact information. So it's not always necessary to have the contact information right there if you think it's going to be a short amount of time and you want to limit all the calls that could be coming in to customer service. If it's going to go longer, and usually your IT people can let you know if it's going to go longer than an hour, make sure you have some contact information there. So simply at stage 4, you're recovering your systems, you're restoring your data, and you're drafting your resolution statement. And I don't mean a board resolution. How has this been resolved? And so that's really important, because it's that opportunity, and all of this is an opportunity to demonstrate to your customers how much you care about them. And that's really important. So let's go to the next slide, please. And you're going to resolve, you're going to alert them, and we do have another statement to show you. And that's here. We recently experienced an issue with our website. The issue involved a third-party vendor whose code running on our website was serving malicious content. The code was removed from the site and has been restored. Customer information has not been compromised. Please only say that if you know it's true. So again, caveat, you might want to have one that says, we are still looking into whether or not any data has been compromised. Sometimes that's what you need to say. We have added additional security protocols to our website to avoid this from happening again. Again, please don't say that if it's not true. But hopefully at that point you will have added additional protocols. So these are the types of things where if then, I go back to what I said earlier, there's the if then, if this, then that. If you've added additional safety protocols, then you can say that. So you're going to ask that question all throughout your crisis management process. And then, and I started to say this earlier, refining your crisis response plan. Did it go the way you expected it? Did the crisis response team do their job well? Are they the right people? Is there someone else who stepped up who should actually be added, or someone that we might have overlooked? Refining the plan is a key ingredient to proper planning.